Hey guys, I'm John with Hops and Brews. And what happens if your beer goes flat? How do you recarbonate it? What if I told you you could just breathe into it? So, has this ever happened to you? You left your beer out overnight and it went flat. And you're like, I need a way to recarbonate my beer. And you're not a home brewer. But you have some basic, stuff around the garage. Could you recarbonate your beer? So, I had this crazy idea that, well, technically, when we breathe in oxygen, we exhale CO2. That makes me sit there and think, okay, if I breathe in O2 and I exhale CO2, if I could somehow put that CO2 into a bottle, I could recarbonate my beer. Now there are some problems with this. One, I need a pressurized way of carbonating this beer. My lungs don't have the ability to push enough CO2 into beer. And two, I need to find a way of getting 100% CO2 into this beer. Now, since we only breathe in about 20% O2 that's in the air around us, that means I'm roughly exhaling about 5% CO2. So I need pure O2 to create pure CO2. Well, as much as possible. So here's how I think we could do this. The issue of pressurizing your beer, I've come up with this. So I always have my little plastic bottle for recarbonating beer with my homebrew stuff. What I did is retrofitted this bike pump tip to, well, the cap. So now I can twist this on and that should give me a good pressure. And I can use this little bike pump right here to pressurize it. Pressure. So that's one of the problems. The second one is I need, well, as much pure oxygen as possible. Luckily they have, well, these oxygen cans. You can pretty much buy them at a Walmart, Amazon, wherever. Now it's not pure oxygen, it's 95%. A lot better than what I'm breathing in now. So that'll do. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm gonna take this plastic bag, put the bottle in here, fill it up with O2. I will then be breathing in the pure oxygen of this bag and then blowing out what should be CO2 into this bag. Recycle that over and over again. I should have then, theoretically, pure CO2 in this bag. Let's go ahead and check it out. So last week I opened up this can of beer and should have gone flat by now. It's been open for a week. So let's check out, see how flat it is. And as you can see, there is nothing to that beer. And there's a little sugar left, but that is it. Oh yeah, that's flat. Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and pour it into our bottle and give this a shot. Okay, so I transferred the beer into this bottle here, took out as much oxygen as I could. Put it in the bag here. Now, again, I've never done this. I have no clue if this is going to work. Put my little bike pump attached to this. There. And what I've come up with is, instead of breathing it, I'm gonna use this PVC pipe to help me get the oxygen in and out of this, basically like a straw. That is pretty good amount of whatever regular oxygen was in there. Now I'm going to put in the canned oxygen. All right, so that's a pretty good amount. Let's go ahead and start with that. Okay, I don't recommend doing that. Okay, so what's in here should be some CO2, pretty decent amount. I'm gonna take this little bike pump and pump in the CO2 that's in this bag, hopefully carbonating this beer. Again, don't recommend doing this. Shake up. Now I might have to do this again because halfway through I started noticing I was breathing through my nose. I think more outside oxygen was getting into this than just what's in the bag. I mean, there's definitely gas in there. I just don't know how much of the outside air got in. So I might end up releasing this and plugging my nose and doing this a second time. So it's pure oxygen. But first, give myself a break. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this a second time. I've purged as much of the old one out as possible. This time I'll plug my nose, try to basically breathe in just what's in the bag. That should give us the most pure CO2 return as possible. There we go. Fill bag. Go ahead and drain the bag of air. There we go. Pure oxygen, round 2. Possible. Conceal. All right. So this experiment can actually be dangerous because you're reducing the amount of oxygen that you are breathing, but also breathing in a lot of CO2 repeatedly. The CO2 builds up in your blood and changes the pH in your blood. Your blood needs to stay at a certain range. You can even have a lot of side effects if it goes over or under. You don't want to put yourself into acidosis. Okay, it's very hard to breathe in there, so I'm gonna say that's mostly CO2. My fingers and arm are getting tingly and light. Okay, let's try this. Okay, I had to go take a break. It was kind of getting to me. My 2 fingers were getting numb and my hand was cold and I was starting to feel really hot and sweaty. Took a break for a little bit. Yeah, this is looking good because we're getting some water on the condensation on the inside, which means we produced CO2. So there is some good CO2 in here. Pumping it in there. We want to get as much CO2 into this bottle as possible. Now, I have no clue if this is pure CO2 or not. I'm hoping so. All right, it's feeling pretty good. Oh yeah, that's getting hard. Okay, let's see what we got. I guess we won't be using this bag anymore. Okay. I mean, it looks bubbly, so that's a good sign. It's nice and hard. So let's go ahead and shake it up. We really want to mix that CO2 with the liquid so it bonds. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that settle just for a second. That way we're not going to just have a big foam explosion, and we'll get back to it. And hopefully we'll have a fully carbonated beer. Okay, so we let that settle for about 5 minutes or so. Let the CO2 bond with the liquid. Still getting quite a bit ahead, but we'll just go with it. So let's check out. That's a good thing because we're getting pressure. So. Oh. All right, let's check out our hopefully carbonated beer. Let's see. Okay, there's some bubbles going. Not much, but there are some. Yeah, there's some bubbles going. That's cool. You know, one way we actually can tell if there's some CO2 bonded to this is to actually pour it back in and shake the bottle up. And if there is CO2, it should expand back out. Let's go ahead and do that. This obviously probably isn't the best for the carbonation, but it's a good way of knowing if there is carbonation attached to the bond. So there, it's sealed and there's some oxygen in there, but it's squishy, right? So if there is CO2 bonded to the liquid, shaking it up should release it and make it go to the very top, therefore expanding the bottle, making it tighter. So theoretically doing this, I should, and it definitely is. I felt it. It's not super tight, but it is definitely tighter than it was. So there is some CO2 in this bottle. So this beer, I wouldn't say is completely recarbonated, but what carbonation is in there is 100% produced by me. Oh, interesting. So if you're ever trying to carbonate your own liquid, don't use your breath. Go buy a soda stream or homebrew supply stuff. This is dangerous. Cheers, guys. Hey guys, if you like this video, remember hit like and subscribe. Follow me on all my social media stuff. The links will be at the very bottom of the description. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment or two. Did you like this video? Do you like this type of content, this weird thing? Have you ever tried doing this? Breathing into a beverage, your beer, and carbonating it? Cheers.